Yo guys, what is up? It's your boy TRUEDBZ back with another video, and welcome to part 6 of my top 5 celebration week series, where I go through multiple top 5 lists covering the content that I have done over the past year, that being 2023. And today I'm going to be going over my top 5 games of this year. Now this won't be a top 5 of like the games that released during this year. There will be games on this list that came out prior to 2023, like 2020, 2018, yada yada. But these are just my favorite games that I've played this year. So that's what we're doing today. I haven't played enough games, like specifically 2023 release, so I couldn't make that list. But I think overall this year had some pretty good games just overall in terms of quality and stuff like that. So making this list wasn't too difficult, but we have some bangers on here. So, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. The honorable mention goes to Sonic Frontiers: The Final Horizon. The Final Horizon part isn't technically a new game, but it completely changes the gameplay loop and story of the final island of the original game. Sonic Frontiers is an open world platformer with a brand new story, environments, characters, and gameplay loop. Sega really wanted to make this Sonic game like nothing we've seen before. On initial release, Sonic Frontiers was a solid Sonic title, one of the best in recent years, but there were many complaints, the main ones being that the story felt unfinished at the end, and the gameplay loop got boring by Oronos Island. Thanks to this feedback, Sega actually took in the valid criticisms, and we got 3 major updates post-launch. All the updates to Sonic Frontiers is free and focused on a particular issue. Update 1 focused on endgame content, Update 2 focused on traversal and quality of life, and Update 3 was a complete overhaul of the final island, adding both a new story and playable characters, that being Amy, Tails, and Knuckles. All the updates are amazing, but Update 3 was the most impactful and controversial. 2 of the biggest issues are the final bosses and Coco challenges. There are other issues like the new 3 characters being underpowered in combat, the world bosses being so damn fast that reacting is impossible, and the overall platforming sections are worse compared to Update 1 and 2. But the final bosses and Coco challenges are easily the worst part. And honestly, if you ever wanted to see me pissed off at a non-fighting game, then watch my playthrough. Most of these issues were a result of poor balancing and the game poorly training the player for this increase in artificial difficulty. Amy, Tails, and Knuckles are great additions, and the ending is far better than the original, but these issues kept it from making the top 5. All these updates are for free, making Sonic Frontiers easily a top 10 Sonic game ever. And thanks to a recent patch, most of the problems with the Final Horizon has been fixed, so I may go back and 100% the game later on. Number 5 goes to the infamous Dragon Ball FighterZ. I'ma be real, for how much this game and the developer's reputation have been on the decline, I still have fun playing Dragon Ball when it works. Dragon Ball FighterZ is a 3v3 team fighting game based on the manga/anime series Dragon Ball. The game focuses on high-speed, neutral, oppressive mix-ups and team synergy. This game and I have had a rocky year. It started off strong with me doing my Krillin Guide series and playing with my friends when they could stomach it. Then midway through the year, around July, I wanted to be fully done with the game. Thanks to poor communication about the promised rollback netcode, horrid balance decisions, and no real gameplay progression, there was really no reason for me to stay. Then in November, we got the rollback beta announcement, and it had a 2-week-long play slot. Even though I couldn't play as much as I wanted, the community was in its best state since Season 3. Countless online tournaments, pro vs pro 50+ long sets, and meta shifts all came out of the beta. It was so successful that when the beta ended, Dragon Ball FighterZ was trending on Twitter for ArcSys and Bandai to re-release the beta. The beta is why it's on my list. The core gameplay loop of hit confirming in neutral, combo to the corner, mix the opponent, and kill a character is definitely fun, but when games like DNF Duel Granblue Rising, and Guilty Gear Strive are releasing with great rollback netcode and post-game content, Dragon Ball FighterZ just doesn't seem as appealing, and honestly the full release of rollback, will anyone even care at that point? Fighting game fans have been moving to other titles like Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat 1, and Granblue Rising. Dragon Ball fans are preparing to move on to Sparking Zero. The overall future of Dragon Ball FighterZ is in limbo, and I don't know what else the developers can do outside of adding crossplay with rollback. The current balance of the game is good so far. Everyone in the roster is very strong, but the villains of this current meta, Cell, GT Goku, Blue Vegeta, and Baby, are slowly pushing people away. So even though I made it in my top 5, this game will need an overhaul to really make it my favorite fighting game of all time again. Number 4 goes to Guilty Gear Strive. Honestly, this game has had a resurgence on my priority list. Guilty Gear Strive is a 1v1 fighting game from Arc System Works as its own original property. The game focuses on high damage combos, snowballing opponents with pressure, and system mechanic usage. The reason why I said Guilty Gear Strive has had a resurgence is because if you guys didn't see my top 5 opponents and top 5 new mains list, both the number 1 slots helped me enjoy the game a lot more. The big break I took from Guilty Gear Strive was due to sluggish movement, super inputs being half circle forward, and yes, that is a skill issue, and system mechanics being so different than Dragon Ball FighterZ, Skullgirls, and other fighting games that I have played that I couldn't keep up at first. Now, after watching high-level tournaments, content creators, and having multiple training partners, I'm able to play the game comfortably. But the super inputs are still a pain in the ass. The meta in the game is a bit controversial, with mechanics like Positive Bonus, Wild Assault, and Deflect Shield, alongside characters like Happy Chaos, Soul Bad Guy, and Asuka. But there was a recent patch that did address some of these issues, so I don't know how that effect will last in the long term. The gameplay loop of intense pressure into crazy damage into wall break is satisfying, but is probably my least favorite fighting game loop outside of DNF Duel. It makes up for that by having fantastic character designs, music, and online rollback netcode. Guilty Gear Strive will continue to be on my priority list, but we'll have to see if it keeps up that momentum. Number 3 is My Hero Ultra Rumble, a game with lots of highs and lots of lows. My Hero Ultra Rumble is a battle royale / arena fighter based on the manga / anime My Hero Academia. This game focuses on skill management, teamwork, and situational awareness. The main gameplay loop is spawning with 2 other teammates, looking for resources like health and skill cards, and choosing battles wisely while avoiding the enclosing purple storm. The gameplay loop is great. When you lose, queue times are really fast, while giving you the option to take the time to form counterplay and or take a break when you need it. I mostly play this game with Pretty, and we often have a fun time. There are balancing issues like the oppressive All Might, Bakugo, and Todoroki, and weaker characters like Ochako, Kendo, and Shigaraki that requires heavy investment to function well on their own. But nobody in this game is bad. I've seen these 3 characters clear entire teams on their own, so the developers have done a great job building a fun and unique character roster. The map is very good with dedicated zones and very easy landmarks to spot in the open world. Now on to the lows. The gacha feels so useless. You can unlock 80 to 90% of the characters just by playing the game, which is great, but if you're pulling on the gacha for the 10 or 20% of characters, then just give up. The cosmetics like costumes and colors are in the gacha, but once again, you can unlock some through the battle pass. You might think this is great, because unlocking things through gameplay is way better than unlocking things through the gacha. But if a core function of the game is useless, then why have it at all? I'd prefer Ultra Rumble to be a paid game with DLC seasons like Xenoverse 2. But as a free-to-play player myself, I never find myself having to beg for tickets, so it's not intrusive. But the game does sometimes remind you that the gacha system does exist. Another low is that progression feels like a meme. You unlock some pink, blue, yellow, and other colored doodads that I have no idea what they do, and I'm pretty sure they don't affect the gameplay at all. And like I said before, you can unlock characters and costumes through the battle pass, but the grinding is very high. You'd have to sink multiple hours every day to get anywhere close to getting what you want. Overall, Ultra Rumble is a great game that I've had many funny and furious moments in. But that's not a bad thing, every game has them, and My Hero Ultra Rumble just wins more than it fails. Number 2 goes to Granblue Fantasy vs. Rising. Once again, just like in my previous list, this game might be an odd pick since it just came out, but I was so impressed by the beta that it sold me on buying the full released game. Granblue Rising is a 1v1 fighting game based on the series known as Granblue Fantasy. The game focuses on grounded neutral, powerful Oki setups, and resource management. With a launch roster of 28 characters, there's plenty of variety when it comes to finding a character that's right for you. Multiple system mechanics of rolling, dodging, special moves being cooldowns, bravery points, and raging strikes work so well together, and unlike in Guilty Gear Strive, it doesn't confuse me even when I did the tutorial. This game not only has the fighting game essentials like online mode, training mode, and replays, but it also has a decent story mode, multiple fun chibi activities like races, and a great progression system for unlocking cosmetics. Granblue Rising is another successful fighting game that excels at being a full product, alongside games like Street Fighter VI. The gameplay is very fluid and responsive. The rollback netcode is great, though not as good as Street Fighter VI or Skullgirls in my opinion, but it still has one of the best online experiences in the FGC. We'll have to see how the roster balance will pan out in the future, but characters like Nier, Seox, and Belial are making their names known throughout the new Rising community. But this is far from the worst version 1 of a fighting game I've seen. With simple and technical inputs in the game, it makes anyone able to fully experience the game's systems and its characters, making it very beginner friendly. But the game is a lot slower than other games like Dragon Ball FighterZ, Melty Blood Type Lumina, and BlazBlue, so the mind games and resource management is what's going to separate the casuals from the sweaties. Granblue Rising has a very bright future, with a great gameplay system, lots of offline content, and plenty of DLC characters coming ahead. The community is going to be eating for a while. And the number 1 spot goes to Insomniac's Marvel's Spider-Man 2. The game that broke my mind, soul, and microphone. Spider-Man 2 is a narrative-focused open-world action game. Following the events of Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man Miles Morales, the two Spider-Men now face new internal and external problems. For Peter, he has to deal with keeping a job to support his and MJ's new life, and Harry coming back, but now he has a symbiote. Miles, on the other hand, has to deal with Martin Lee's escape and focusing on his normal life with his friends, family, and school. With the rise of new villains such as Sandman, Kraven and the Hunters, and Venom, these two Spider-Men have to really work overtime for this situation. The story is more in-depth than this, but that's just the basics. The main gameplay loop is similar to other Insomniac games. You have the main plot, plenty of collectibles, many side quests, and lots of enemies to defeat. You have multiple ways of making your Spider-Men stronger, like the base level ups, the skill trees, and collecting coins by beating crimes and quests. Most super suits do make their return, and there are new suits to replace the old ones that didn't make it. The Easter eggs are plentiful, and some have real story applications, and some are just for the fans. There is one issue I have with the game though. That being quality of life features that the previous game had, such as day-night changes, New Game Plus, Mission Select, and some other niche stuff, are missing even after months after release. Now we did get an announcement that these features and more are coming in 2024, but come on, I paid $70 for this game, everything should be ready by release. If they had finished everything by launch date, we could have seen the DLC stories and content by now. But thanks to corporate and investors, they have to leave features out to make a good launch date. Now this is a gaming-wide issue, so I won't blame Insomniac and or Spider-Man 2 for this, but it's still disappointing. This game had my emotions going wildly in a good way. From happy to sad to exciting to scared to hopeful to what the fuck is even happening now. Please watch my playthrough to get the full story. This list can't cover how I feel completely about the game, but I can say this. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is one of the best single-player narrative action games I have ever played and or seen, and I can easily recommend this to any superhero fan or action head gamers. Alright then guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this top 5 list. If you did, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this in the future. So the final episode tomorrow on Sunday will be released, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you guys next time. Sayonara.